talk of the games of the year, games of 22 year, games of the place. Play all the games, do all the games, play all the games, all the games, all the games, all the games. Please stop me, cause I can't keep singing this.
Let's talk about the games of 2022.
I mean, let's talk about games, baby. Let's talk about all them here. I ain't going to continue that song anymore, people, because that is really bad to do, to be honest.
There were a lot of games in 2022. We've played a fair whack of them, and we're going to talk about our top picks with you.
That is very, very true. Obviously, people. So you are getting a lovely special secondary episode. We thought we'd catch up on this, to be honest, because basically we are doing our top lists of the year, and then you can look forward to the next episode being looking forward to 2023. So it's going to be quite interesting, to be honest. So obviously, we're actually recording this only 2 days after we last did. So you've got the episode today on Friday, people. We recorded that on Wednesday. Got the episode on Friday, and now we're recording this on Friday. Get all the drinks, boys. Yes, yes, all the drinks. Even though James is the only one drinking. And yes, it's just good to be back, people, for another lovely episode 51. So we're over the 50 hump mark, as it were, and we're trotting along to 100 now.
Yes.
So we'll get to 100 by the end of this year, or maybe more if we do like double episodes a week.
Yeah. It's full steam ahead, everyone.
Yes, no, I definitely agree. It's obviously, people. So what we're going to be doing today is basically we usually do a little recap for how our days have been. Fuck it, why not? How has your 2 days been since I last spoke to you on the podcast, guys?
Eating quite a bit of pizza. Yeah, that's the only thing of note, really.
Cheesy.
Yeah,
it's very cheesy. Yes, indeed.
Basically, exactly the same. I mean, went out to a restaurant last night, and it was that's about it.
Yeah, that sounds very fancy indeed. I was literally editing the entire time. I was trying to get this edit sorted. Obviously, we had a mega, as I like to call it on the description, we had a Megasode yesterday. We had a 2 hour and 7 minute episode. That was it was a chunky boy.
Double feature, extra long, covered all of TVs and films of 2022.
Oh yeah, no, most definitely. It was very interesting, to say the least. We had some good ideas there. I love the fact that me and James forgot about a few films that Unbearable Weight of Talent.
Nick Cage film, yeah. I mean, I'm a bit miffed about myself. I missed that film. As I say, definitely one of my best films of last year.
Oh no, it was so good, and also it's not that long either, which is really perfect for that movie, and it has a nice pace. Again, go listen to the episode, people. We get into it a little bit. No, it's cool. Yeah, basically we're trying to figure out the kinks, people, with the microphone setup still. So you may hear a little rattle, a little dazzle every now and then, but it's all good. It's all good, people.
No, I keep bumping into it.
Yeah, so we'll keep bopping and booping and all that jazz. But no, it's just good to get back, guys. I keep repeating that. It's the only way to be. It's too late at night. It's 8 o'clock at night. We're old men. We're it's almost
nearly
our bedtime. It's nearly bedtime.
On a Friday.
I was about to say speak for yourself, but I am the oldest.
But no, yes, people. So obviously, if you've been on the podcast long enough, if you listen to us long enough, we like to ramble at the start and everything. I will say, next week I'm actually thinking about going to the cinema to watch a little movie called Puss in Boots.
I'm looking forward to Puss in Boots as well.
So you have seen the trailer now?
Yeah, I have seen the trailer to Puss in Boots. It does look good. I believe it is the last ever Shrek film. I don't know. They'll probably sneak in another Shrek.
I mean, that's the way it goes, to be honest. We're just going to talk about it over the trailer now while James watches the trailer. But basically, this sort of takes it's basically how Puss in Boots basically has used 8 of his lives. And I love the animation style for this movie, to be honest, because it's very interesting how it plays. They do have like an Into the Spider-Verse style animation trail. It's like he's just basically given up on life, and there's I'm just really looking forward to seeing how this plays out, to be honest. And I love how Antonio Banderas came out recently. It was like, the Puss in Boots voice has wrecked my voice basically because it was all the raspiness, but all the deaths he has in these trailers is just fucking hilarious, to be honest. And
yeah, he reaches his last life and then Has to go on one last quest to save the kingdom.
No, supposedly there's this this magical item that he can get that he's wanting to get his lives back, basically.
Right.
And Florence Pugh's in the movie as Goldilocks. Ray Winston is the daddy bear. Olivia Colman is Mama Bear. I don't know, Baby Bear. Do you know John Mulaney, the comedian? John
rings
Mulaney.
A bell.
Yeah, so he's the boy who puts the thumb in his pies. What's his? I don't know the rhyme.
Pie guy.
Yeah, there's I don't know the rhyme.
Tom Thumb.
I think so.
Maybe.
Yeah, a little Tom Thumb or something like that.
Something like that.
Yeah, he's like really rotund now and like massive, and and then there's this little Chihuahua dog that's pretending to be a cat, and
right.
he wants to be a therapy dog and everything, and
right.
Yeah, I've heard like obviously America has had this film at least a month earlier than us, which I'm a bit annoyed with, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm surprised that still happens in this day of global media sharing platforms.
Yeah, because again, like it was released in America at Christmas. Why not give us a Christmas movie like this?
Yeah, it would have been a very good Christmas movie for the family, rather than just having Avatar playing exclusively in every cinema and every screen for a month.
Yeah, the fact that Megan, which I heard is doing extremely well. Like it was made for 20 million, and it's made at least about 100 million now. So. It's always like that playing out. Oh yeah, in the trailer as well. So we're watching the trailer now, but he's been hunted by death, which is basically or a representation of death. He's like the big bad wolf, basically.
Yeah.
And supposedly he like gets terrified, but I just love if you watch the trailer, people he takes it especially just like fucking meow, I'm gonna fuck you up situation. Yeah, it just looks really fun.
Very classic Puss in Boots. Yeah,
haven't seen it in such a long time. And obviously get the classic. Kitty, lovey faces that they do, but
it's got cats in it. What's not to love?
Oh, you watch What We Do in the Shadows, don't you, James?
I do. Well, I've not seen the latest 4 seasons. I don't think it's come to the UK yet.
The guy who helps them, basically, like the Harvey Gilpin. He's like the servant, basicly.
Oh yeah.
He plays the Chihuahua in this movie as well.
Oh okay. Wow.
Yeah, so he has a very good part in the movie. Supposedly, obviously, I watch a lot of American reviewers, so they've seen this film as well already. So I pretty much know what's going on with the movie. But yeah, no, I'm really looking forward to seeing that. And then that on the 4th, and then Ant-Man Quantumania on the 17th.
Okay, we've finally got films. Finally got films.
I mean, I'm still thinking about going to see Megan, like. Because good old Jordan from the podcast has seen it, and he really enjoyed it.
Okay.
And it's supposed to be a horror movie in quotes, people, but
it's an uncannily creepy doll sort of horror thing, isn't it?
Yeah, but come on, from the trailers, like, have you guys seen the trailers for this? So basically, the concept is like a girl's parents have died, and she gets dropped off, literally just dropped off with like her aunt, and her aunt just doesn't want her.
Right.
But her aunt works has created this like companion robotic person.
Oh God! Right. Okay. This is all technology people are sociopaths, sort of.
No. She actually creates the robot with good intentions.
Yeah.
But doesn't understand the AI complications of like basically she says to the doll, "You must protect her at all costs," not realizing murder is on the she doesn't follow Isaac Asimov's 3 principles, basically.
I see where this is going.
It sounds like an extended Black Mirror episode.
I mean, it could be like. But to be fair, this is from Blumhouse, and the way we're looking at it is like, I think this could work out really well. To be honest, obviously the people are just loving the fact that like there's a dance murder sequence in this movie. Like you'll see in the trailers and everything, but a lot of people were just giggling and like, can you do the Megan dance now on TikToks and everything? Oof. And I mean, like there is going to be a sequel. It's already confirmed. Right. Megan 2.0, it's called. Supposedly it's not coming out till 2025.
Okay.
It's like, I'm sorry, but how? This movie was made for 20 million.
Yeah.
How is it taking 2 years?
They're going to actually build the robot, and it's going to act in 3D.
I mean, possibly. Like,
I don't know.
I just don't know how. This will play out. To be honest, here we go. Like, if you watch the trailer, people, there's like she starts dancing when she's going to kill a person, and it's just very fucking random, to be honest. It's
right, okay.
It's like okay, like
right,
what?
okay.
It's creepy though, like
it's creepy, but it's also kind of. I don't really like things that portray technology badly. I don't really like Black Mirror because I think people should be up for adopting like robots that are kind of similar to this, maybe not as creepily and not as murdery, but like if people if someone as a kid watches and gets traumatized by a film where they could be murdered by a robot, they're never going to invest in or buy a robot like this.
Yeah, that is true. To be honest, again, it comes out. Oh, it's already out in the UK, so we can go see it if we want to.
Yeah.
But, so that's that. I mean, we got some good films coming out.
Yeah, no, there's definitely some interesting stuff coming.
Scream 6, I'm definitely looking forward to as well.
I kind of lost. I'll give it a watch. I haven't watched a Scream film in a very long time.
So basically, the idea is this time around it's set in New York, and it's actually following the Scream character is they're paying homage to every person who's portrayed the Ghostface the entire time. So it's like, because I was watching Double Toasted, the podcast we've spoken about previously, and how the original script for Scream 3 was going to be how Matthew Lillard's character from good old Shaggy from Scooby-Doo,
right,
was going to come back and train a whole bunch of Ghostfaces for revenge and everything, but that script got scrapped because of Columbine back in the day.
Yeah.
So a lot of people are thinking, could this film, because in most of the Scream movies apart from 3, there are multiple Ghostfaces.
Yeah.
There are at least 2.
Yeah.
Some people are thinking there's going to be at least 3 in this film, which would be very interesting. But it's also the fact that there's people coming back from previous movies. I can't remember the name of the actress who was in. She played Sydney. She's not coming back because of contract disputes. But yeah, I'm actually looking forward to it. And it has Jen Ortega, good old Wednesday Addams.
Yeah.
She was in the previous movie.
Yes.
So yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to seeing this. And it's obviously in this universe there's the Stab movies, which is like their version of Scream.
Yeah.
But looking at the trailer, you could see all the previous Ghostface outfits and the memorabilia, and Double Toasted went into this as well. They actually broke down the image, and there's actual outfits from all the previous Scream movies in there. And I don't know, I just feel this looks different, and I'm really quite interested to see how it plays out. To be honest, I think it comes out in March.
Okay.
The last one came out last year.
Well,
this is what I'm trying to say. This comes out
a
year, and Megan takes over 2 years to make.
I don't know.
I mean, you never know. To be honest, to see how it plays out. To be honest, but no, I'm loads of good films coming out.
Yes, more in best of 2023.
And definitely, we'll probably talk about all this more in the looking forward to 2023 section next week.
Yes, that one.
Yeah, because I probably just spoke about the 3 of the films. So I'm going to talk about bloody talk
There's
right now.
So many films.
That is true, and there's more films coming out later in the year that we haven't even spoke about.
Yeah. Yep. I'm going to hold off until next week as well to talk about them.
I haven't currently done my research, so
yeah,
I'll let you know next week.
It'd be definitely good, to be honest. So yeah, right. So basically, we're just setting up the microphone still. If James just wants to say a few words.
No, it's fine.
Okay, yeah, it's better. Cool.
Yeah, it works now.
Yeah, basically just a little bit of leveling out there, people. So yeah, we're going to get into, obviously, what you're here for today, people. Obviously, you can look for our time codes, but basically, we're going to be getting into our favourite games of 2022. So what we're going to do is, right, we had a little discussion before on how we're going to play this out, because Fergus is like, some of these games I'm going to talk about weren't released in 2022.
Well, okay, I've got the honourable mentions, which are the games that I've been mostly playing that weren't technically released in 2022. I've got 3 that I have been putting significant hours into, which were released in 2022. So in terms of honourable mentions, what I've been putting time into in 2022 is Halo Infinite. It's had several new content drops this year. I am maybe 120 hours played on this so far. I've currently maxed out on the winter leveling up season. It's just a really fun, returnable to game. Like, it's fun, it's interesting, it's never dull. no two matches are ever the same, despite the lack of maps, which they are addressing now with the Halo Forge beta. So people are out there making their own maps, which soon will be inundated with user maps, which will be good. But I've probably talked about Halo Infinite quite a lot over the past year. Also, this year I've been playing Steins Gate. That ended up putting maybe 60 hours into it. So this is a visual novel. I got all of the endings, bar one. This is developed by Studio Majors, which is currently in the process of going bankrupt, I believe. I don't know if there's been any saving talks that have happened around this yet. This is Steins Gate. Majors,
oh yes, I remember you saying.
Spike Chunsoft and Co. published. There's also an anime. There's also a manga. But in terms of time travel narrative, Steins Gate's really, really up there. I mean, it was originally released in 2016 in the West. I think considerably before that in Japan. It's about 2010's Akihabara tech culture and a guy who accidentally straps a mobile phone to a microwave and creates the world's first time machine.
Don't try that at home.
Don't try that at home. That's probably quite dangerous.
Most definitely, yeah.
But interestingly, in terms of concepts of time travel, he only really manages to send data back in time. So he works out that he can use this to email himself and change his past, like send himself the winning lottery tickets and this sort of thing. So it's not a concept I've ever seen anywhere else in terms of time travel, and it's just fascinating. You can get past some of the more sus aspects of 2010 anime culture. You can, it is very worth digging into.
I mean, to be fair though, like anime was starting to become more mainstream, like when it got to the that time period, because obviously, how could so One Piece was pushing off more, even though that's been going for so long now, manga style. My Hero was coming out. That was quite mainstream. Bleach
hitting its prime.
One Punch Man was probably one of the bigger ones.
Yeah.
So I definitely see where you're coming from there, to be honest. Dragon Ball always been around, to be honest, so you can't really ever get rid of that.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's not James's thing, really. Anime. It's never been your thing. Has it never been your thing, or?
Never. It's not a thing at all. Sorry.
Because I know we've discussed you've watched Akira.
I have. I mean, way back about 20 years ago, I had friends trying to get me into anime. Akira was one of the ones I watched, and also the Ghost in the Shell movie. I'll be honest, I like them both, but not enough for me to continue exploring in anime.
Yeah, no, I get that. Again, go listen to our episode yesterday, people, because Fergus has a few anime episodes on there, and also I think we're still going to do the episode in the future where Fergus is going to give me 10 animes of the first episode, and I'm going to watch every single one, and probably go watch some of the episodes where basically, like, we went to watch a YouTube video basically for one of our episodes.
Magic Girl site.
And we weren't allowed. I wasn't allowed to play on the YouTube video because it said this show contains scenes of suicide and mental health illnesses. So I'm like, how does YouTube know?
So it's worth saying quite a lot of the anime stuff does deal with more subjects that are less dealt with in the West, especially in terms of mental health, suicide, because it is a very big problem in Japan. Japan famously has one of the highest suicide rates of any country ever. So their way of reflecting it and dealing with it is being reflected in media. It's like lots of themes of bullying and other such things which people, experience in any country, but it's just not reflected necessarily in any other bit of media. So on YouTube you get content warnings.
No, I think that is good to have, to be honest though. Like sometimes like we have that over here. Like I just watched The Last of Us. I don't know if The Last of Us has it, but there was a show I was watching that gave you a content warning when the episode was beginning. Basically, it's saying specifically what will be in this episode. Like it'll tell you, oh, there's violence and heavy, very heavy emotional stress in it. So it does give you warnings. And I do also think like shows still need to add the whole, like we were talking about yesterday, everything ever all at once. A lot of shows still need to add the, if you have epilepsy or anything like that, do not watch these because
that one is medically important.
But a lot of places don't do it still, which is really interesting.
It is surprising.
So that was your first. So
those are my honourable mentions.
So do you want to run those again quickly?
So Halo Infinite and Steins Gate were two of my big games of 2022 that were not released in 2022, so relegated to honourable mention status.
Nice.
So to kick us off, I've only got 3 entries. I am going to start with the most obvious of the entries, although my other 2 will be slightly less obvious, more interesting. But it is definitely, and Nate's already got it up there, already predicted it, it is Elden Ring. It is probably is my game of the year. So I've never really been. I've enjoyed the Dark Souls games beforehand. Never been massively into them. The only reason I've never been massively into them is because I suck at them.
Definitely, I am.
Yeah.
I am fucking awful. There is a YouTube video of me trying to play the first half an hour of Bloodborne, and I am terrible. I am fucking awful. A friend of mine, we know, kept telling me to press the health button. He kept telling me the wrong assigned button, so I was pressing constantly the wrong button, trying to attack and use health, and I was just like, I just fucking gave up in the end. It just was not for me. Again, go listen to our accessibility and easy mode or easier mode for episodes. People, sorry, I had a little bit of a burp there. Very professional for the podcast. No, go listen to our episode on that, because I think it was a really good discussion on how, Elden Ring, which we're probably going to get into now, really actually has almost cracked that curse essentially for like a lot of people. But I'll let you continue, James.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm just going to go in the same vein as you and talk about the ways in which it did crack that curse, in my opinion. So one of the things I remember, I played quite a lot of Dark Souls 2, but one of the things which frustrated the heck out of me with Dark Souls 2 is what I believe people call boss runs, and it's because they have like a save point right at the start of a level. And you have to go through a full level of enemies, which are really hard anyways, before you can even get to the boss. And if you die at the boss, which if you're like me, you will do, you have to go do the whole level again. Really frustrating. One of the things that put me off the series. Elden Ring fixed this. They're very, very generous with their save points, which in this game is called points of grace. So usually there'll be a rest point or a save point where you can regenerate really close to the bosses, either outside or just outside, so you've only got like a couple of enemies to deal with, and that makes things a lot better for me, because even though yes I suck and I get killed by bosses a lot, it meant that I could repeatedly try and do the bosses way quicker than I would do in previous games, because save points were a lot closer, and thoroughly appreciated that. And also the open world element is the other thing which is more interesting as well, because it means it's another element that will help with accessibility, because if you found one area which you couldn't get through, you could trawl around the open world, maybe do some grinding, or maybe to level up, or maybe find another area like a cave and fight a mini boss which is more accessible for you at that level. So there's a lot more options where you felt that you were still playing the game, even if you were struggling at a certain point.
No, I totally agree. I think, as we've discussed before previously, when we were coming up to the whole Elden Ring conversation, will it be played, will we won't play it, I just decided to bite the bullet one day. I just thought, fuck it. I thought, as soon as I heard, as James has just said, Points of Grace was in the game, and they are very, they're not spared in the game as well. There are quite a few of them, and I think they are evenly distributed quite well.
Yeah. Very much like the distribution. It's very fair. There'll be a few occasions where they are spread about and there's a few difficult moments, but then that's part of the course of those games. But I feel, on the whole, they are very fairly spread out and make it a lot easier without it being easy. It is still a difficult From Software game.
Well, so the problem with sharing my screen so we can actually see this video is obviously James is going to know. So Elden Ring is actually one of my because I've got some honorable mentions on one of my 5 games, so I might as well just go through Elden Ring. Now, so what class did you go with in the end?
I think I started off as Vanguard. I think it was.
Okay.
So I mean, I spent pretty much. I say all the game. I didn't complete it. I got to, I think it was the Godskin Joe. I might go back to it and have another go at getting past that section. So I played most of the game with the Bloodhound Fang, which you get in one of the jails early on.
Yeah, I know that. Yeah, I know exactly what you're on about.
So I usually play with that and a shield and with no skill, so you can use the ability of your sword much easier.
I think I had a Moonblade, and also I had a Rotten Sword as well that I got at one point. Because did you ever fight those two bosses that you have to go through an entire like rotten pool just to get to them, sort of like underground? Did you ever play that?
I'm not sure. I mean, I've been to Caelid. I'm sure that's what you're talking about. I'm not sure if I discovered that location.
It's okay. Basically, there's two bosses, and it's like fucking like ridiculous. Just to try and have to get through, you have to have like rotten resistance, and like it's ridiculous. And I finally remember the name of the character I finally got to, and I could not even get past it. It was Malekith.
Okay, I know. Oh, that's just past where I am, I believe. Actually.
Yeah.
Jesus
Christ. The first part of that battle, because this is 2-stage battle, which you probably posted in videos. It's the second stage part I just couldn't get past. I just could not do it, because I was a samurai class.
Right. Yeah.
So that is a class. That is the class, isn't it? Yeah, I think samurai class.
Is, yeah.
So I was samurai class. I put about 134 hours into the game, which I did not expect to do. I thought maybe I'd hit about 60 at most and just give up on it, but yeah, it was just really fun. I bought it for a friend as well, like as a thank you gift, and he was really getting into it. We'd message each other, and also we cheated. We looked at the Elden Ring map and everything just to find weapons and like.
Oh, okay. I refuse to do any cheating.
Oh, well,
you're gonna give yourself a.
I'm a guide bitch. I'm a guide bitch.
So when I say that, I will admit there were maybe about 3 small areas where I did have to use a guide because I got stuck.
But you can't judge me.
But I have not used a guide in order to make sure like I'm getting the best weapon and stuff, because I like the thrill of discovering things on your own accord.
No, I will as well admit, like I did use some hacky grinding techniques just to up my character quite a bit.
I've grinded so much in that game.
There's like this one bit in the game where you can sit on a ledge and like just shoot a bird off a ledge the entire time, just keep respawning. And
I didn't do that.
Yeah, you could get like the golden half foot. And just like keep doing that, getting like tons of gold and experience, and not gold, just experience. And yeah, I just thought it was a brilliant game. Again, I'm probably going to go back to it eventually. I think definitely go listen to our accessibility in an easy mode access episode, because I think Elden Ring does the idea of like adding save points to a game is not a bad idea. And also, once you get past the initial area of Elden Ring, it's actually quite easy to go back to those areas. Like, it's not as difficult as you remember.
Yeah.
Also, it's more forgiving. Also, because it's open world, as James has said, you don't have to go to certain areas in this. You could just stay where you are, grind, make your character a bit more. They do have the classic Dark Souls style dungeons. So those are in the game. Those can be quite difficult, but I think the way the leveling works in the game does help it quite a bit. Like, I think if you're a traditional Dark Souls player, you will find this game. You will. Well, I'm sorry, but it's a stupidly well selling game. So obviously people loved it. But I'm wondering if they found those dungeons a bit easier, because maybe there was a whole aspect of that. Maybe they should add a harder mode for the game for those people, and then an easier mode for other people. That's all I'm saying again. But
I'll just wait for the TV series.
Yeah.
I really failed at Souls games. So I very famously got stuck on Dark Souls 3 for 24 hours on the tutorial boss, and have never been back to anything remotely like it ever again.
I'm basically the same with you with Dark Souls 3.
Cuphead was kind of like that for me. Like, yeah, I think I got to the first or second boss in Cuphead, and I was like I love a mode in Cuphead. So let's talk about a brief. Obviously, we go into a bit of a tangent, people, but we'll run along a second. Hades, I think, is a prime example of a excellent roguelike game, Dark Souls-like game, where basically if you die, you do have to repeat it, but you're constantly progressing, like Elden Ring and everything. Yeah. But the one thing I loved about that game is the fact that it had a god mode. Where basically every time you died, you got a 2% resistance.
Yeah, it'd be good to have something like that in Elden Ring.
But what is wrong with having that? There's no issue with having that for some people.
I don't know.
It's just the diehards just don't want people to have fun. Yeah, exactly. There's a whole conversation there. I think I'd like to do a part 2 of that discussion at one point with like someone who's more hardcore, leaning that side, just to try and get a common ground. And it'd be very like pulling blood from a stone situation, but very funny to say the least. But no, that was so that was obviously one of James's mentions and one of my mentions. Yep. So I guess I'll go to my honourable mentions now. So I've got a few honourable mentions here. So I'll try and go through them as quick as possible because, again, I think I played about, how many games are here? I played about 19 games this year, which I was quite surprised with. Quite a few of them are full-length games, like 60-hour games as well, so I was quite happy with that. But the first game I want to talk about is a game I did not expect to come into enjoying quite a bit, and that is Marvel Snap. I was actually quite enjoying this, to be honest. Like the fact that it's from I believe it is from one of the developers who actually created Hearthstone.
Okay.
So I know Chaz is definitely into that. So Chaz is a massive Hearthstone fan. But yeah, the fact that in this game you simply have 3 battle arenas, as it were, which are like basically like battlegrounds on your phone. They unlock each turn. They have special abilities. You can build decks. This game also proves that there are so many Marvel characters not even used in the Marvel universe yet. Like we haven't even got to Squirrel Girl yet, and Squirrel Girl's a badass character in the Marvel Snap world. There's a whole upgrade system in this game. A lot of people I've read like play this game for like 3-4 hours a night sometimes, just like on their phones. And
you can sort of get into this kind of sort of semi-competitive, kind of casual-ish sort of gameplay.
Exactly. Like it's very interesting to see how this plays out. Like I never thought I'd be into this type of game, to be honest. Like it came out a few months ago as well. I believe it came out around the birthday, and been really enjoying it. It's like you obviously go up your standard levels, you unlock cards as you go through. You don't have to buy cards either. You can buy currency if you want, because all those games have that, but you don't need to. You know, you can have like. There's a battle pass system. You could get certain cards, but I believe that those cards become available later on after that season's gone. So there's still availability of getting those cards later. So it's not locked behind a season pass, which I think is really good to have.
No, you're just paying for like premium access.
So that's that's one of my first games. Again, it's mobile, PC as well. So I've been playing on Steam a bit as well. Like when I'm just chilling, watching a TV show, but it's Marvel Snap on Steam. Give that a go. Next one I want to talk about is Signalis. So Signalis is a game that I only played. I will admit I've not played a lot of, because I basically got a Steam Deck last year. And decided I'm going to give this game a little bit of. I wanted to buy like a load of different games to give a go. So I ended up watching the PC Gamer review for this game.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, what is this game? It's like a top-down isometric tank control style game.
Right.
Like all Resi style. The environments are pixel based, but the characters are very low poly. So it's like old school Resident Evil. You're on this spaceship and you're trying to find this person. I loved the way this game plays out. A lot of people describe this even in the review of PC Gamer. Basically, this has a Silent Hill vibe, like a slight Silent Hill vibe to it. Like just looking at the review, you could see like if you look at the PC Gamer review for this, you could see like how it has this like very retro grainy 80s 70s style like aesthetic to it, and I really love. And obviously, if you know the podcast and our advertisements, we love a bit of retro pixel here, so definitely good to give it a go. And
it looks interesting.
So basically the idea is like, so it's a third-person shooter with top-down 2.5D elements. Puzzles vary from manipulating switches dials to searching for certain frequencies. So you can dial frequencies to actually find new pathways to actually go further forwards.
Right.
The difficulty and geometric elements enhanced through the use of resource management. So you are limited to certain things as well. So like Resident Evil, you have a limited window for your inventory screen. So I think the inventory screen will come. So we're basically watching a video of people to go through at the moment. But basically, you have like a limited window to actually look at everything. Okay. I've played about 4 hours of this so far, and I'm really enjoying it. Like it's nothing major. I believe it's only like 14 quid as well, so it's not that expensive. And I believe it's on Game Pass as well, I believe.
Okay.
So obviously Fergus being a big lover of the Game Pass, can definitely give this a go if he wants to.
Yes, don't have the Game Pass.
But it's published by Humble Games as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's something different. That's one of my other honorable mentions. Want to throw in a quick shout out to Sifu. I don't know if James is going to be talking about this at all.
No, I've not played it.
No, so Sifu is basically, it came out this year. It is a rogue-like fighting game. So obviously, if you die, you eventually start the game again. Basically, you get to 65 years old, and once you hit 65, you restart the game. This literally came out almost a year ago, so still counts, luckily. Obviously, a lot of people modded this game to make it like Matrix style, like you play as Keanu Reeves or John Wick.
Yeah.
The dodging, the actual like combat system was really interesting to see how it played out. Picking up weapons was really awesome. A good feature they added was basically when this game came out, though, a lot of people found that after they got to the second boss, looking at the metrics, a lot of people dropped off the game because they just couldn't get past it.
Yeah.
So they added an easy mode and a harder mode to compensate.
Right.
And I love the fact that they did that because I will admit, I played on easy mode.
Yeah.
And I still found it difficult when I got to the end. You get a decision at the end of the game as well to make a certain moral decision, and it gives you your unlocked outfit for the end of the game. So it gives you a requirement to play it again to unlock another one.
Yeah.
Which I think is really awesome.
Yeah.
A lot of people are saying they'd love to see like a John Wick style game, like Gun Fu style.
Oh, it's this with guns, but with the yeah.
Or Equilibrium, if you remember that movie back in the day.
Oh, the swords and the guys with the helmets. And yeah.
But again, I love the fact that so basically when you die in this game, you initially die 1 year. You initially age 1 year, but the more you die in the game, your age length doubles. So basically, you die first times 2, 1, then 2, then 4, then 8, and then basically you get to 65 and then you restart the game again. Once you reach a certain... So there's 6 levels to go through. Yeah. Once you reach the end of that level, though, it's sort of unlocked, basically. So even if you die, you can go back to that level again and repeat that level. So it's not consistently going against you. And it has a Metroidvania-style approach of you are sometimes going backwards to go forward. So you are unlocking elements to try and progress further forward. Really good art style. Recommend checking out, people. It's constantly on sale now. It's on the Epic Game Store, Steam, and everything, so I highly recommend checking it out. And it's one of my other ones. Obviously, Dying Light 2, I could talk about briefly. Good parkour style for that game. I really enjoyed it. Starship Troopers Terran Command on PC was really awesome as well. I don't want to go into those too much, but I really also Power Wash Simulator kind of took over a little bit for me. Yeah. Who knew cleaning a van for half an hour, trying to find that one little spot to finish cleaning was therapeutic. But
yeah, you need something where you can just sort of turn on a different part of your brain. Really.
You literally need to wash your mind.
Yeah, I think it's Power Wash Simulators. I watched an awful lot of people streaming Power Wash Simulator and getting like frustrated when they got footballs stuck in corners and this sort of thing. It was a surprisingly entertaining game, Power Wash Simulator.
It's amazing how everybody tries to avoid doing chores in real life, but as soon as they make a game of one.
Yeah,
I ain't gonna even comment on any further, to be honest. Like it's true. A lot of people commented on that. But like doing power washing in real life is very interesting. But yeah, my final one I want to talk about, because there's a game I'm going to talk about later in when Dead Space Remake comes out properly, which I'm going to be playing this weekend. There's another game I'm going to be talking about which I'm not going to download, but I don't want to talk about now. The final game I want to talk about is Gotham Knights, which has been a very how can I put this? It was okay. Like, it wasn't the game I was hoping for. Like, obviously coming off the back of Arkham Knight. This came out like back in October. It had the design. A lot of people describe this as a very high level PS3, PS4 graphic level, but mechanics PS3 level game. Yeah. I still quite enjoyed it, to be honest. Like, I will say, the world was quite. It was filled, but it was very sparse. The storyline, the Court of Owls element, I did predict most of it going into it. Weirdly, I've got one mission left in this game to complete, which I never went back and played because God of War Ragnarok came out. We'll get to that in a little bit. But I enjoyed this, to be honest. I think the reviews for this game basically were like in the 6 to 7 range, which I think is good for this game. I bought it full price and I did enjoy it. I was just obviously coming off the Arkham series. I was expecting, a bit more. Like, and also as James as well, he enjoyed, Arkham Origins back in the day and same developers.
Yeah.
I was hoping like it was a bit more like that, but you could tell with the levels that it's designed for 4 players. The levels are very spacious in that regard. There's no, unlike the Arkham games, there are no condensed hallways a lot. It's more spacious. And also, if you're playing with another person, I was reading that, because I never did this, you have to wait for the other person to come to the door with you until you can press X to go through the door.
Right.
So there's like a traversal restriction and levels.
Yeah, that does feel like quite an old mechanic. Like, it used to be that used to be a thing when, as you were saying, like PlayStation 3, Xbox 360 sort of era, when you couldn't load the next room. You just wouldn't let you unless you all went through together.
Yeah.
Sort of thing.
So I can say, when it comes to the actual game, though, like, there's a lot of outfits in the game that you can actually unlock and everything, and I think it's really, really well designed in how they look. Like, they have all unique style to them. I really did enjoy that aspect of the game, like customizing the elements, because you don't just have the one suit. You can actually take parts of the suit and mix and match them and everything.
Oh, that's cool.
So I quite enjoyed that. So I actually like unlocking the requirements. When you do upgrade your characters as well, you don't have to consistently have the next person at level 0, which was interesting. It did sort of like retroactively upgrade the other people as well, which was really good to have.
Okay.
But yeah, I just think I don't know what it was. There was a couple of pieces missing to this game, which I think could have been made it perfect. And yeah, really enjoyed it still. But it's not in my top 5. I just wanted to throw a nice call out to it, because I did really enjoy it, to be honest. So yeah, that's my honourable mention. So we're gonna take it back to Fergus now.
Okay, so my first official pick of a game I did play in 2022 is Needy Streamer Overload. So this is a psychological horror visual novel management sim. Very interesting mix of genres there. Basically,
this does not look like a psychological horror from the reviews.
So the premise of the game is you, the player, are managing this girl's Twitch streaming career. So she's dropped out of school. She really wants to be the Twitch streamer with 1 million followers and take the internet by storm. You help her come up with ideas for streams to do. But you also have to manage her stress levels, her mental health, basically her general well-being. It's about like going out, making sure she basically doesn't stay indoors on the bad end of the internet 24/7. The psychological horror comes in when you fail these sort of stress tests. She goes crazy. So,
okay,
yeah. There's a lot of potential endings. It's one of these games that's got 20 odd endings. A lot of them lean into sort of old internet lore of streamers who kind of went through the same thing and then didn't make it and then disappeared, or just went crazy in some other way. Like, you can end up getting murdered. She can go off on a drugs binge while streaming it. She can... There's quite a wide range. But you definitely do feel the psychological stress of trying to be a streamer when you're not really prepared for what it actually involves, especially when you get to the 1 million follower mark. So it's a very interesting, very relevant game for the modern era. It's quite a short play as well. You just have to play through multiple times to get the endings. But,
so could you say, like, this is sort of like people could play this game to sort of get like an idea of what they could be getting in for, essentially? Like, it's sort of like a gateway of like, okay, you got all the positive sides of like all this like game on the viewers, but it's definitely worth.
Well, I mean, if you can cope and understand the sort of things that do happen to the main character in this game, yes, it's probably worth checking this out before trying to become a 1 million subscriber streamer. Because, I mean, if you are going to do that, you do need to manage your mental health, you do need to manage your diary, you do need to make sure people aren't stalking you, this sort of stuff. And these are pitfalls you can fall into in this game. I would say approach with caution, but it is a very interesting idea and concept. Yeah, I very much enjoyed it.
Yeah, when you literally said this at first, and I thought it was going to be like a cutesy style.
It does look
game.
pretty cutesy, yeah.
Yeah, but I think that's a good appeal to it because, like, you know, it sort of like pulls you in. It says like, look at the flashy side of streaming, like how pretty it is and how good it is and everything, and then it reveals its darker undertones. And...
Yeah, absolutely. If you've been on the internet long enough, you will have heard about or been involved in a streamer going off the rails in some form or other. Like, it does happen relatively frequently, and it happens badly.
Yes, no, I've seen a couple recently actually have had issues with themselves, and luckily, they seem to be in a better place now, which is good to hear and everything. Obviously we're not going to name names and everything, but it's just good to see when people do rise out of that and do come back and whatnot.
Yes, yeah. I do recommend this game. If you want a good 6 hours of trying to be a virtual streamer.
So that game again is?
That is Needy Streamer Overload.
I definitely might add this to my list because I'm definitely going to ask you a game in a little bit that was we spoke about last time. I'll ask you in a little bit, but we're going to go to James now for his next pick.
So I might pass actually because the last round I realised you guys were doing honourable mentions and I didn't have honourable mentions, and Elden Ring is one of my I've only got 3 picks and Elden Ring was one of those. So I think I'm going to pass this round and come back.
Elden Ring again.
Oh wait, we might save that to be honest. No, so my next pick for this round is, let's have a look of the old list. Let's talk about Marvel's Midnight Suns. So Marvel's Midnight Suns is a recent game from Firaxis. This I did not expect when I first saw the concept of this game, of basically a card-based action game with a Persona-like secondary element to it. I was like, what?
It seems like an odd mix, yeah.
Yeah, I was like, what the fuck is this game, to be honest? And I'm not gonna lie, over the Christmas break, I actually played. I played about 120 hours of this game, 130 hours of this game, and I absolutely love it. I don't know what it is about it. I really enjoyed it. I mean, if I've played 120 hours over Christmas, I've definitely enjoyed it, to be honest.
Yeah.
But yeah, so just going off the basis of the Wikipedia is a tactical role-playing game developed by Firaxis in collaboration with Marvel Games, but it has characters from Midnight Suns, which is actually a actual comic book series that has Ghost Rider, Blade, which I believe the Marvel Universe is going to be going towards soon.
Yeah, hopefully.
So Werewolf by Night and Moon Knight, obviously the horror elements, and getting Blade, Black Knight. I wouldn't be surprised if soon we get a Ghost Rider announcement for a movie.
Yeah, it would definitely make sense if the Marvel Universe is splitting into the younger audience and they need to keep the older audience. They might go down the more mature route.
I think we're getting to that point now.
Yeah, I think so.
Because also I know Ryan Gosling has been very vocal about playing Ghost Rider.
Yeah,
and I've been looking and I'm thinking that's not a bad casting decision actually. Like he'd be quite a good Ghost Rider. Looking at Drive and Blade Runner and.
Yeah, wasn't Nicholas? No, not Nicholas.
It was
Cage
yes.
Was
he did two. He did 2 Ghost Rider movies.
I did see these. Yeah.
Yeah, the first movie was okay. The second movie actually has Idris Elba in.
Okay.
Yeah, and the second movie got praised because it actually looked more grittier and darker because he has like a charred skull, like it looks more burnt. But the movie was fucking awful.
I don't remember much about it if I did see it.
Oh, you don't have to worry then. That's completely fine. You don't have to worry about it. But no, going back to Midnight Suns. So there's a whole host of characters. So like you got your Iron Man, your Captain America, your Wolverine, Spider-Man, Scarlet Witch, Captain Marvel, Ghost Rider. Let's just run through them. Doctor Strange. But then you have stuff like Nico. I can't remember her name. Apologies. I don't have the list up here. Sorry, Nico Monoro, who's from The Runaways, which was in a recent TV series we had. And also we have. The problem is people are having so many names in this list, you're trying to read them out. Magic, she was in the recent New Mutants movie. Do you remember that New Mutants movie that came out? That was like a very small.
So no.
So it was like the last Fox movie that essentially happened. They were in like an asylum and everything, and had Arya from Game of Thrones. And
oh, I do remember a trailer. I didn't.
Anya
see
Taylor-Joy
it.
played this character in that, and she is basically Colossus' sister in the comic books, which is really cool. She has a big part of this game. But yeah, the concept of this game is basically Lilith is back in the world. She wants to take over the world because her master's ordering it. I won't say the master's name, but if you've watched Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, you could probably guess who it is. And the idea is basically certain heroes have had their minds taken over as well, so they're evil now. And it's up to the Midnight Suns and the Avengers to come together, or as it becomes the Midnight Suns in general, to fight Lilith off. You play as the Hunter, which is an entirely new character creation for the Marvel Universe. Fergus has got to create an entirely new Marvel character, which doesn't happen often. Also, you do have a character customization, so you can make them male or female, which I think is pretty awesome. And you're basically, your name is literally is Hunter.
Yeah.
And when you play the game, you obviously have a card combat based system where, as you play the game, you can unlock certain resources to upgrade your character, upgrade the card systems you have, also have like necessary unlock abilities to sort of like stifle your character, improve them, environmental abilities, so you could say like, oh yeah, environmental damage takes +2, double damage for a card play. You can only move once a turn in this game though, or possibly twice if you have an extra move card.
Yeah.
That's the card-based side of the game. And then there is sorry, I moved my microphone a little bit. Then there's the Persona-esque. I've never played Persona. I've just heard the description of this, where
the hanging out side of it.
Yeah, so basically you are in what's called the Abbey, which is like the Midnight Suns headquarters. It's actually a really open area to explore. So it's sort of like staged as you go through the game. You unlock new abilities to unlock different regions. You open chests to get like customizable items. The good thing is about this game, there's a ton of customizable items for your characters. There's about 4 or 5 premium outfits, or maybe 3 outfits per premium outfit you have to purchase with currency. The rest of the stuff you can just constantly play the game, currency, and unlock the costumes yourself, which I think is a great addition to have. The narrative, when I first started playing it, it's weird to say, the first 5 or 6 hours, I was like, well, okay, I don't really know about this game and everything. But then I got further into it, I was like, oh, this is fucking awesome. Because also because it has Ghost Rider in this game. Yeah. But there's 2 Ghost Riders. So you have your Johnny Blaze, which is like the original from Nicolas Cage. Yeah. But then you have, I'm blanking now, this is really annoying. Robbie Reyes, who's like the Ghost Rider with the car. And he's the main Ghost Rider now. Okay. So he's the person on the front cover, basically. Yeah. So, again, obviously Hydra's in this game, because obviously Hydra's in this game. Yeah. Brilliant game, people. I think if you want to try something different, again, when I first about the whole aspect of card-based tactical combat, I was like, how is this going to work? But trust in Firaxis, because Firaxis pulled it off, in my opinion. And I cannot wait to Deadpool DLC's out now. So Deadpool is one of the... I love the fact that the DLC characters. So we've got Deadpool, Morbius, Storm, and Venom. The fact that Morbius is coming into it is very interesting, to say the least.
Very memey character at the moment. People mod him to say it's Morbin time.
I knew you were gonna. I was waiting for that.
Almost certainly has to happen.
But obviously Nolan North is voicing Deadpool again, because obviously he's the famous Deadpool voice actor. Yeah. He's out now with a season pass, which is going to be interesting. So I'm probably going to play that eventually, because I've got a few missions left. I think I might play him a bit, then see if he's got some specific missions, and then do that. So yeah, that's my first pick. I really enjoy this first. I don't know if you guys got any further questions about this at all, but yeah.
I've not played it.
The only thing I was going to say is that the best thing, I've not played a game, but the best thing for me about Marvel Midnight Suns coming out is that I hope that Firaxis are now working on XCOM 3.
I mean, possibly. I mean, I know they've mentioned the fact that they still want to work on the XCOM series, and don't they have a few other titles in the works as well? Like,
I've got no idea, but I'm sure XCOM 3 will come out at some point, because it's one of my most. I love what Firaxis did with XCOM 2. I replayed that last year as well. So I'm very much want an XCOM 3. They set it up as well at the end of the second one.
That is true. Alluding to we won't spoil it, but alluding to a certain previous game, the title in the series, and didn't realise Chimera Squad was 2020 though. That was I
actually replayed that last year as well.
Never played it. Never played Chimera Squad.
Some people didn't like it. I quite liked it, so I think it is worth a play.
Wait, they did Civ 6 as well?
Yeah.
I never knew this.
Yes, the Civilization developers.
Yeah. Chaz is going to hate me because Chaz loves Civilization. I never knew they were Firaxis as well.
Yeah, Firaxis is really good in the strategy market. Yeah, really, really.
And that's why I think I should have just trusted them with this game. But it's also something brand new, card-based tactical combat. It adds an extra element of
unknown risk strategy to play on top of the whole where am I going to put my character sort of deal.
I can say the voice actor for Spider-Man is the same from the PlayStation 4 version. So it's weird seeing him playing a different version of Spider-Man with the same voice. I can say that, to be honest. And but having Wolverine in it is always good, to be honest. So yeah. That's always good. But yeah, that's my first mention after Elden Ring. So yeah, back to you, Fergus.
Awesome. We have another anime game, unsurprisingly.
Because of course we are. Ding ding.
This is another visual novel. Again, by the same people who made Steins Gate. So this is Chaos Head Noah from Majors Inc., published by Spike Chunsoft. Came out in the West in 7th of October 2022. Well, came out on Steam in the West on 7th of October 2022, because this had a bit of a controversial introduction. It was released on Switch before Steam, because Steam banned it because of its gory content, and because it's such a fan favourite, the ban got overturned. It is an all-time classic game, but it is pretty gory in places, but I don't think it's any more so than a lot of other stuff on Steam. So the plot is part of the same kind of series as Steins Gate, so it's kind of science-based anime visual novel sort of deal, set in the same universe, maybe a few years before Steins Gate. So you follow a guy who is a second-year high school student. He's basically about to become a shut-in, never leave his flat. We all know how that feels. And sort of starts playing MMORPGs and watching anime and this sort of thing, and sort of struggles to deal with outside life. And he's kind of has sort of delusions about things. He's not really entirely sure if people are really saying things, so he tends to keep to himself a lot. He then accidentally gets involved in a series of murders that are happening locally. So there seems to be a serial killer who's going around killing people in quite gory and inventive ways. He walks into one of these murder scenes, and then people who on the internet start sending him pictures and saying, "Oh, is this you? Are you doing this?" This sort of so it's a lot of psychological terror. He thinks he's the murderer because he's not really sure what's going on. He's a bit of a shut-in. People aren't really telling him the truth. It then gets really strange because it turns out there's a power that certain people in this world have where they can make their delusions real using some form of quantum mechanics and this special thing that can read people's minds, and people can see through other people's eyeballs. It spirals into extremely strange science fiction territory very quickly. But the whole sort of isolation, psychological horror theme, we've all been through lockdown, and it's really similar. Apart from all of the murders and the there's also a religious cult involved. If you're following what's going on in Japan at the moment, it lends itself quite aptly to that. Seeing as this was originally made in the 2010s to 2008, it's taken a very long time to come out in the West and be translated. I think a lot of people have had a lot of trouble with some of the themes of religious cults causing mass murder and people sort of psychologically brainwashing people and media being involved. And this, it's very interesting. It's quite tough to get through in places, if I'm honest. Like, just cringe of some of the characters. The murders are just intense, but the story's good enough that it kind of makes you want to finish it. I did kind of finish it reluctantly, but I'm glad I did finish it. It's an interesting game, but kind of tough.
So I'd say, obviously, when it comes to this game, you're saying it's very tough, and would you say if you're the general gamer who doesn't want to get too bogged down in the heaviness of it, maybe avoid this game?
Yeah. No, so definitely.
Let me put the question to you then.
Yeah.
This or the new Dead Space remake?
Oh, Dead Space remake would be
much more cheery.
Much more cheery than this.
That's interesting because I know, Dead Space has a lot of psychological horror style aspects in that game.
I guess the whole isolation in space scary sounds.
Because you're dead in space.
You're dead in space. With Chaos Head, there's an awful lot of psychological attacks from people you think you trust, but you don't know that you trust them. It'll probably mess with your head, this. I think Dead Space would mess with your head less, to be honest. But
just more gory.
It's not even the gore that's the problem.
Really. I just meant Dead Space.
Dead Space. If you can cope with gore, then yeah.
I mean, have you heard about the whole they built a new system with Dead Space where it's not just limbs coming off; they have a flesh built over the muscle and the skull bones now. And you shoot, it's it's a whole other gross level now.
Right. Yeah. No, still, this is worse. Yeah, it's
gotta love these cherry games that Fergus does.
It does get one stage worse than this.
Fuck's sake, people. Okay, so we're gonna put a disclaimer for this game, people.
Yeah, not for the faint of heart, but if you're very interested in deep dive exploring a very particular niche of Steins Gate-like visual novels, definitely give it a shot. This is the first visual novel Mages Inc. made, interestingly, which in it of itself is fascinating if you're interested in the early history of anime, the internet, that sort of thing. Maybe it's a bit of a niche interest thing for me that I've gone down this route, but yeah, I spent nearly 40 hours on this game, so
yeah,
and that's Chaos Head Noah.
Yeah.
So moving on from one game about murders to another game about murders, I'm picking up an indie game called The Case of a Golden Idol. It's a detective game in a very, very... It looks simple, but it's actually really tough, and it really makes you feel like a detective, really deducing the crime scene. So essentially, it's pixel art, and you go around clicking on various pictures of basically around the crime scene. So, for instance, I'll give you an early example, and the early example will be that there is... I can't think of an early example. I don't know. There's also a story behind it as well. I don't really want to give spoilers or anything, because it's really kind of about deciphering the clues. So you click on various items in these various scenes around a murder or a death of sorts. You may also be able to read notes. You can click on various words and stuff. You build up a vocabulary of various words and items around the scene, which might be used to describe what's going on. And then you go into what they call is the thinking panel, and you try and put together... First we try and put together who everybody in the scene is, and then you try and decide, then try and put together what actually happened through all the words which you have picked up of. And there's a lot of lateral thinking, there's a lot of deduction which you need to do. It's not simple by any means, but which makes it even more rewarding, because, as I say, it actually makes you feel like a detective. Unlike something like the Arkham games, where they try and put a detective mode in, where you're just watching a scene and just no real participation in terms of your intelligence trying to actually be a detective. This game very much makes you feel like a detective.
I mean, you could say this is the old school version of Glass Onion, then, possibly.
Yeah.
Nice little time back to the couple episodes. Fergus won't play this game now because he doesn't like Glass Onion.
Well, that's fair.
I mean, struggle with this game.
I mean, if you want to play this game and see your Glass Onion, just continually do a narration in a Southern American accent.
Yeah. That would work.
Fergus still won't do it though. Is it on Game Pass, or is it? Did you buy it?
I have no idea. I got it on Steam. I don't do Game Pass.
Fair play then. No, this does kind of remind me of. Did you ever play the Gabriel Knight games?
Nope.
So Gabriel Knight was a series back in the day where I believe it actually had Mark Hamill involved in it. So I believe he was like on some of the covers back in the day, and it was like a click adventure style like game. Like I believe it was like a detective style thing, and did not even know Tim Curry was in this as well. But we're just looking at some videos back in the day, which really pixelated. Can't really show the aspects of the game, but it has like a very like click base to it, and like it is partially 3D based as well. So it would be good to actually like see the game. There we go. So it has like a retro. Well, I say retro. It did come out in the 90s, but has like and it did like looking at the case of the Golden Idol. It did kind of remind me of this a little bit.
Nice.
Yeah. So obviously, I believe you can play these still. So I don't know if this is something possibly to go back to for.
I could look into it definitely.
Yeah, retro looking series. So obviously, it's like a classic click style adventure series. So yeah, no, I've been hearing a lot about this game. To be honest, like obviously we just saw the PC Gamer. They gave it the best story for 2022, so that's very interesting to see. To be honest,
okay.
Yeah, that's really awesome, man. So going on to my next one, it is Horizon Forbidden West. So I feel sorry for the Horizon series so much because this game series has basically come out around the same time as a massive other game series, like. The first one came out in the same year as Breath of the Wild.
Right.
This one came out with God of War and Elden Ring in the same year.
Oh, that is tough. Yeah.
When you saw the Game Awards, Horizon didn't win anything, which I think this game should have won the best. Like, I love God of War. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But I think when it comes to Horizon Forbidden West, they had the best visuals in my opinion. Like you start off, so basically the idea of the game is the initial 6 hours are like you go down to this like you saw in a quick preview there. So like the initial section you are going down into like a cavern area where basically you spend the initial 6 hours in this open area just learning the mechanics of the game.
Yeah.
The one criticism of this game that a lot of people had was basically Aloy who's the main character, she talks to herself a lot.
Yes, I have heard this. She just doesn't shut up.
And they patched it so she talks less in the game.
Right.
But don't get me wrong, Ashley Birch, who's the main voice actress, does a stunning job in the performance. Lance Reddick is back in the game. Obviously amazing actor from the previous titles. Introduces Carrie-Anne Moss from the Matrix franchise as one of the characters. One of these interesting like characters who have like a more sci-fi build like figure to them and you don't know what's going on with them. Adds a whole like war nation to it. Again, who doesn't love wanting to fight mechanical dinosaurs and mechanical monsters?
Yeah, it's a good concept. It's kind of Monster Hunter but
better. Well, I say better, but I'm just not good at those games. But
yeah,
I will say, like, I think the one aspect is I loved this game in general. I really, really did enjoy it. It doesn't compete to the game I'll talk about last because I think obviously the next game is a conclusion. But this is going to have at least one more title in the series. It's not been confirmed that the next one is coming out, but it does essentially set up the next one.
Yeah,
we're getting a DLC coming out in April for this game. I believe it is called. Just looking at the Wikipedia page, called Burning Shores now. So I believe we're going to go to a new landscape. So okay. I believe you're going to fight a Hades-style character. I'm just trying to see if there's no spoilers there, basically. I'm just going to scroll through. Again, the reception of this game, it got pretty much 9 and 8 and 9 and 10s, across the board. So it went really well. But again, it just, like, the Game Awards, it was nominated, didn't win a single. And I generally think this game should have won Best Art Direction, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because I think when it came to, let's find out what game actually won, because I can't remember what game actually won that, to be honest.
Was it Elden Ring?
No, so that's the thing. Elden Ring is a good game, but so Elden Ring won Art Direction. But when you look at Horizon Forbidden West to Elden Ring, I generally think Horizon Forbidden West should have won.
Yeah, it's a very different style to Elden Ring, isn't it?
Elden Ring is very grey and very like
it's
brown.
It's very grey. The creature design in Elden Ring is quite something, but it's quite something here as well, to be honest.
I mean, yeah, look, going from like snowy landscapes to like, tropical areas and like deserts and how this didn't win, I don't know.
Again, very tough competition. I mean, the world of games now is just extremely competitive.
I just feel so sorry for it. Like it was a tough year this year. Like, and also the fact that made it worse was basically Horizon Forbidden West came out February 4th or February 18th.
Yeah.
And Elden Ring came out February 25th.
Yeah, February was not a good time to release a game.
No, because a lot of games actually came out in that time. Because obviously we were in the we're in the post-COVID period, but a lot of games companies are like pushing their game titles out now, and I think they were trying to get them out basically.
Yeah.
And I know they delayed Horizon once, I believe, from like the previous year, which was they wanted to get it done. But I think you fight robot mammoths in this game as well. It's ridiculous. Mammoths. Like and. There is a couple of twists in the game that play out, which I think is really interesting. And obviously, we are getting the Netflix series. So it's called like 21. It's 2027 something. Anyway, I believe it takes place in the past and the present at the same time.
Yeah.
I won't spoil the narrative of the game because it is playable on PC, so you can play on PC. I highly recommend it if you want to play the first one. I think they'll release this one on PC as well, maybe in like half a year. Because I think that's what Sony's going to do. I think they're going to give at least a year for their PS5 titles, maybe a year and a half, and then release them on PC. Because obviously we're getting Returnal. We're getting Returnal soon. We've already got God of War. Obviously that's a PS4 title. But I generally think I was a bit disappointed this didn't win a single game award because I think it should have at least won it. Oh, microphone slam there, people. Of course, I'm the one doing that now. Yes, I generally think this should have won at least a game award in my opinion, and I highly if you could get it. This is on PS4 as well.
Yeah.
So you can play this on PS4. The one issue is when the DLC comes out, it's only on PS5.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
It's a Final Fantasy VII issue. Because I believe the DLC for that was only on PS5 and then came to PC later. Yeah. So I don't know how it's going to play out. Obviously, the DICE Awards coming up soon, so I'm hoping it wins something there. Yeah. It won the Best Storytelling of the Golden Joystick Awards, so that's good. That's good. But I believe the Golden Joystick Awards were a bit earlier in the year compared to this year. But no, we'll see how that plays out. But no, that's my next pick. I highly recommend. Go check it out, people. I'm not going to spoil it for you because I definitely don't want to spoil it because there's some good twists and turns there. They had some lovely mechanical upgrades compared to the first game, but definitely you definitely have to play the first game to play this game. You can't just skip over it because the narrative it's a narrative drive that they'll have a conclusion. I know for the fan casting for Aloy for the actual show, the one actress that they're talking about is Kit Harington's wife, Rose. I can't remember her name. Her name is Rose Leslie. So basically,
okay, I can see that.
Yeah, she's played. Obviously, she was a redhead in Game of Thrones, but when you look at her and you look at Aloy, they're pretty much. You could pretty much see that. And also, she's played a warrior in another show. Why not give it to her?
I definitely can see that. Yeah.
Yeah, no, she's the big fan casting for that base. Like how Dave Bautista is the Kratos casting. Yeah, she is the Aloy casting essentially. Yeah, so it'd be really good to have, to be honest. But yeah, no, that's my next pick. So back to you, Fergus.
Okay, so my last pick is a game, and of course it's a game. It's a visual novel, a very gory visual novel called Gore Screaming Show. It's all in the title. Well, is it? There's lots of gore. This is by the published by Just and developed by Black Psych, who also made Song of Saya. You may have heard of it. It's quite a famous visual novel, similarly gory. So in Gore Screaming Show, a guy moves away from the town where he grew up, comes back 3 years later, has to sort of reintegrate back into his life that he left. Everyone's grown up, they've all gone to high school. So he kind of like rekindles old relationships, you discover stuff that happened in the past. But he also meets this girl called Yuka, who has quite a few issues and gets very attached to the main character, who you're playing from the perspective of. Whilst all this is going on, there are lots of disappearances going on in the town. So it seems there's some mysterious force taking people. And you've got to find out who it is, what's going on, and it's quite likely you'll encounter large amounts of gore and tentacles. It is worth saying that the version that you can get on Steam is not the actual version. The developers of the game were forced to basically remove 80% of the content from the game to be allowed to put it on Steam and provide a patch for free on their website. So you basically have to patch in 80% of the game as effectively a mod, which is an interesting situation.
I presume this is only on PC then?
This is definitely only on PC, as far as I'm aware, yes. This came out at the end of this year, and it's a 20-year-old visual novel. So the aspect ratio is square, 16 by 9.
4x3,
4x3.
4x3, yeah.
Yes, I mean 4x3. Because this came out 20 years ago originally, and has taken a very long time to come over to the West because of its quite niche, gory, tentacly nature. But people have started publishing these now.
I was about to say, did it not probably come over here years ago, but with fan rewrites
maybe fan translations? Yes, you might have come across it on things like torrenting sites, and it's kind of one of those underground hits. But I mean, the stories are very compelling. So I mean, I've put 50 hours into this, even just getting through the gore. Not even for that content.
50 hours for the gore.
No, you've because the way the mystery sets itself up, you've got to, every time you go through, you get a little bit more knowledge of what's actually going on and what's happened and why people are doing things. So you then have to play through again as another route, and all the routes are very, very different. The last route is it is basically focused on you do find out what's actually going on and why there are giant psychedelic floating eyeballs occasionally, and just the scenes that should be nice are just not nice, and it's all very messed up. It's interesting, but yeah, wow. Just very wow in places.
I mean, yeah, just we're looking at, the basically a video compilation now on YouTube, and you could definitely tell, the art style. It's very interesting how art styles for visual novels haven't hugely changed in so long. But again, it's interesting to see how long it's actually taken to get over here, to be honest.
Yeah, I think things are getting quicker now, and people are picking up what were underground classics at the time, but we've somehow managed to ignore these classics. Again, the content is pretty extreme, so it's probably not entirely surprising. There's been quite a lot of resistance of it coming over, but there's more and more of this stuff is appearing on Steam now. If you can find you have to sometimes find patches to actually get the actual game, because I was very confused when I played it first without knowing about the patch, and it was I spent 25 quid on this game, and it was 5 hours long, and there was nothing to it. There was no front end menu, anything.
Sounds like some other games I've played recently.
And it was just what did just interesting. If you're into gore, it's probably for you. If you're not into gore, definitely don't play it.
I just there was just a disclaimer: if you have a fear of clowns, don't play this game.
Also, fear of clowns, cannibalism, tentacles, getting stuck in wells.
I have to do it again, buddy.
The ring.
The ding 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 will return. With tentacles mentioned, the ding.
I'm not
ding
even
will
mentioning what
return.
the tentacles even do.
Yes, but as soon as you mention tentacles any time now, dude, the hentai bell has to return. I'm sorry, but that's what it is.
Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's an interesting play, but also, oof.
Fair play, man. Fair play. Gotta love these ones you do. It's
yeah.
Any light-hearted games at all in your future at all?
No, I've got Song of Sire lined up next. Dead End Elgis.
Maybe we'll save those for next week.
Well, I've got to play them first, but they're pretty much on the
Bad,
same
bet
lines
you're
as
looking
these
forward
guys.
to list.
Yes, they were released. I don't think any of them are going to be released in 2023. I've got a couple lined up for 2023 to be released in 2023. If majors don't go completely bankrupt and not release the game that they're going to.
And we could see how dark that's going to be for Fergus when they actually come out.
Yeah. I don't know what it is with light-hearted looking visual novels and massive psychological trauma. And anime.
I like how I'm
subgenre.
We're into like, we have a nice little mix of like Chainsaw Man, but when it comes to anime, I'm into the standard shonen style.
Yeah, I do go into it trying to find stuff that I've not found before on subjects that are generally not covered. Like all of these things cover very interesting subject matter. They're just absolutely layered with stuff that is not.
I can say, My Hero, without going too much into detail, they're getting people getting arms and limbs ripped off now, and body parts disappearing, and I'm like, fuck, I did not expect this series going in this direction. But yeah, no, so that was Fergus's final pick.
Yes, say 50 hours on gore screaming shows, so that is pretty much my 2022 in a nutshell as games go, really.
I like how we've got such such a yay, cheery time. To be fair, I'm starting off 2023 with playing Dead Space, so that really can't help, to be honest. I'm going, in a completely different direction, like visceral 3D destruction, not 2D destruction.
Yeah.
But yours is probably more mindfuckery than.
Yeah, and they're really good at the whole psychological stuff, like just the.
It's probably because they're putting their own, essentially demons into.
Yeah, it is very. The scary thing about a lot of these things is they are very relatable. If you've been through any shit in your life, a lot of these terrifying demons that come through in these animes and games are actually manifestations of actual things actual people actually go through, especially exploring trauma, being trapped in a well or what have you, then turning gay.
Oh yes, I'm a big fan of claustrophobia myself. The movie The Descent, no.
Ugh. Yes.
If it's a British horror movie, people underground, no.
I saw the trailer, couldn't even. So
I watched that film.
Gosh,
couldn't.
Yeah.
There's a guy I watch on YouTube, Blind Wave, what you talked about before. He has a massive fear of falling into a hole, but the hole is narrower the further you fall in. So you can't.
Have you seen the Junito man-shaped hole in a wall?
No
thing.
Is it like the game show?
No, there's a few manga panels at the end of one of his horror mangas. So there's an earthquake and it reveals lots of man-shaped holes. So all these people turn up and are determined that these holes in the wall are made for them. So they decide to force themselves into it and then try and go through the mountain. But at the other side, it massively deforms their bodies. It stretches them out and their necks, and it's just horrific.
No.
Yeah.
No. So basically going through there so long, it takes that long to get through it.
Well, no, at the other side, it deliberately deforms the bodies, and they can't come back out. So they just have to actually go through and destroy themselves.
No.
This is Japanese horror for you.
Jesus fucking Christ, man.
Yeah. There's a whole series on Netflix coming soonish with the same guy.
Which I will not watch, no doubt.
It's pretty, yeah.
Well then.
Yeah.
Any lightheartedness from you, James, at all?
Right, so my final pick for the day, we'll see if you find this lighthearted at all or not. So my final pick, it's an early access game. But it is a game that is fully playable from start to finish, so I believe it counts. And we talked about XCOM earlier, and this is a game that is made by the modders who did Long War and Long War 2. And this is a game called Terra Invicta. It's a game about it's a cheery game. So you want a cheery game now?
Yeah.
It's a cheery game about an alien invasion of the potential destruction of humanity.
For fuck's sake, man.
Games are not particularly cheery.
No, not at all in the slightest.
But it's a fascinating game. So it's all on a strategic layer. There's a very interesting angle to the whole alien invasion, not just in terms of why the aliens are invading, because that's kind of like a bit of a story which comes about as you play the game, and I really liked how they did that. It felt more realistic, and also it makes sense for all the different factions in the game. Because in the game you can choose one of 7 factions, and your factions are, so you're essentially playing as the humans. The humans, in response to an alien invasion that's about to happen, aliens have come through into the Milky Way. They're preparing the populace for the alien invasion. You've got 7 different options. You've got a faction who wants to resist the aliens, so typical XCOM style. You've got a faction who wants to prove to the aliens that they are equal, they are the same. You've got a faction who wants to work with the aliens. I mean, you've got a few other different factions, all have very interesting different dynamics. And the way they've done the stories, it meshes well with those factions. Everybody has different, I believe everybody has different objectives and stuff, because I've only ever played one campaign of Resistance, and well, let's put it this way, let's just hope in real life that I'm not in charge of the Resistance, because I failed. Well, at least I turned it off because I knew how I'd failed. But you basically play as a shadowy, almost like shadow government kind of thing. You are
the Illuminati,
in a way. So you control councillors, essentially, a few councillors of your organisation, and you're having them infiltrate governments of various different countries to try and convince the populace and convince the government to do your bidding, essentially. So it's a very different. So everything you're doing is like an indirect kind of way of handling the situation. That's what I find fascinating. But then there's also a layer which is a space layer, and that is and you have a little bit more control over that. So you can launch probes to work out where different minerals and different asteroids and planets are, and you can build bases on the planets and asteroids, and essentially you can eventually build space fleets. You can have real-time space battles as well. Now, the space battles was one thing I hope during early access we'll do some work on, because I feel that's the weakest aspect. But apart from that, I felt the game was thoroughly enjoyable. If you like a strategic game and you like feeling that you like kind of feeling like you are taking a more political kind of like take on foreign affairs, and you're manipulating politics. If you like the sound of that, then this is a game to check out.
Looks good. Space strategy. I got really into the Alien version of Civ not that long ago.
People have compared it to that before. And,
yeah.
Whatchamacallits, that's what it's called. It'll come to me. It's on tip of my tongue.
What? Civilization?
It's annoying.
Beyond Earth.
No.
Yeah.
It was not Beyond Earth. I thought
okay.
Beyond Earth was inspired by that. Well, it was basically their own version of that game. Whoa, God!
We will find it.
It will probably come to me by the end of this podcast. But
I bet James will shout it as instead of the usual bio, with James just shouting the name of the game when it comes to the end of the podcast. But no, I have seen you on Steam and Discord quite a bit. Like, definitely playing this game, and I'm like, what is this game and everything? And looking at it, it does look really interesting to me. So, obviously we doing this show, we like to bring up the YouTube videos, so we've got a visual comparison, and I could definitely see the XCOM inspiration in regards to the map aspect of it, like management and everything.
Yeah.
The space combat, is it turn-based?
It's not. It is real-time, well, ish. It's quite similar to like the Paradox style of doing things, both the world map strategy layer and the space battles. In fact, you can control the time, so you can either pause a game, or you can go different speeds, but it is essentially real time, but you can control the speed.
Fair play then. Well then, that's a great pick, man. I've seen you doing the early access for. I did try Dune Spice Wars, that was recently early access this year. I think I bought that game a little bit too early because it was quite early access at that point. I've never bought a game that early. I've never played an early access game before, so playing Dune was an interesting take on that. So obviously hearing your take on this game and how they could possibly give not improve, but give added elements to the space combat sections.
Yes, yeah, totally.
So is it just space combat, or just like space in general?
Just the space combat. I think the building of bases is great. The finding resources is fantastic. But space combat, even though you can speed it up, it feels very, very slow. And I didn't feel the tactical element was where it needs to be.
Could you say they could look at The Expanse for inspiration in regards to...
Potentially. I'll tell you the game where I think it could do, because there was another aspect I felt it wasn't quite so good at, and that's actually the building your spaceships. And I feel Stellaris is the best example of how to do that well, how to build your spaceships really well. But in terms of the space combat itself, I'm not 100% sure where to look at for inspiration. I suppose I would prefer... I'm a big turn-based fan, so I'd always be happy for them to make it turn-based instead of real-time.
That's awesome, man. That is great. I'm definitely gonna check this out. So, rolling on to my one now, we are going to be rolling it over to the boy.
Of course,
my man. This is the game, you know... Obviously, I've been talking about this game very briefly throughout the year, and obviously we mentioned it briefly in this podcast, but obviously have to end it with I will call it my game of the year in my opinion. It is God of War Ragnarok. This game was stunning. It was brilliant. It was epic. It was tragic. It was really emotionally heartfelt. Christopher Judge, even though he gave that 7.5-minute Game Awards speech, which I still fucking loved. I love the fact at the end of that speech, Jeff Keighley was like, we just had to give out like 5 more Steam Decks during that. Thanks, Christopher. But the man deserved it. Like, getting the award from Al Pacino as well was like insane. But I think going into this game, obviously you don't want to spoil this game because what I loved about this game is that when they were releasing the title, they said, "This is it. This is it now. This is Kratos' story." 2 games, and a lot of people went, really? Like, 2 games?
It does seem odd to finish at 2 when most things are 3.
Now, a lot of reviews came out about this and said this, but I understood where it came from. So you could have stretched this to 3. You could have, because the first game is about the journey of Kratos and Atreus to the mountain to take the mother's ashes there and fighting a stranger along the way. The sequel is essentially going against Odin, Thor, Asgard, essentially.
Yeah.
And they have like huge other added characters to it. There's obviously the added side of Atreus, which I won't spoil too much because he has a whole added storyline, which I think is great. They play it off quite well in this game. There is a section of this game I will say does drag a bit. It's one of those sections where you're just walking or on a boat or creature. Essentially, you're just talking for like almost half an hour to an hour.
Yeah,
it does stretch a bit. I didn't mind it. Other people didn't like it as much. I quite enjoyed it. The combat was a huge improvement compared to the first game. Don't get me wrong, the first game had stunning combat within it, like the Leviathan axe and the Chaos Blades, which we could talk about now because, like, you know, they're in the game. But when it comes to this game, though, it was a case of basically the 9s and the 10s were deserved, like really were.
Yeah.
Like obviously, the fact it's called Ragnarok, I will say the end game with the Ragnarok element could have been grander in my opinion. Like they could have had a slight grander aspect to it because they do have some narrative points with like the world serpent. Yeah, Fergus is just looking at the trailer like,
there's a talking squirrel.
There's a Radagast. I believe his name's Radavast or Radagast, the talking squirrel.
Right.
Like there's tons of side quests in this game now that add huge added lore to the game. You might recognize Odin from the game. In the game, it's Richard Schreif from The West Wing.
Oh, okay.
So he's in this. He plays Odin, so he's not like a big burly character. He's like, because Odin's more of a manipulator, so why should he be big and burly and everything?
Yeah.
But the emotional connection between Atreus and Kratos is really explored in this game, and like the first game is about is coming to accept your son for who he is, or just like try not to coddle your son too much. This game is about finally accepting your son for who he is, and also it's the idea of like coming into your own, but also letting life go. Essentially, it's like. Is this the end? Because obviously with Ragnarok, you anticipate this is the end of Kratos' story. You have to play the game to figure it out, but I won't say too much, but I'll say it is a satisfying conclusion. I did get quite choked up at the end, because Kratos has been on this journey of vengeance and violence and blood his entire life. Like, he was raised as a Spartan. He literally became the god of war after killing Ares and whatnot.
Yeah.
And this game has a conclusion which sort of like comes full circle. Like, he finally... Obviously, I'm not going to tell you how it ends, but has a really great emotional pair for his character arc. Essentially, they up the mechanics for this game, like the traversal system. Like you can use the Chaos Blades to swing across like areas. Now you can throw them at walls and leap up them. Where in the previous game you'd have to climb them slowly. It's much slower paced. Sindri and I can't remember his brother's name. Apologies. Sindri and don't look at the screen for a second. I'm just going to quickly.
While you're trying to work out what that is, Alpha Centauri. That was the name of the game I was thinking of when Fergus mentioned a Civilization game in space.
Okay.
I've not played it.
Yeah, Alpha Centauri. So Beyond Earth is basically a modern version, ish of. So Alpha Centauri, you had a lot of different factions. Again, and a lot of people have compared Terra Invicta to Alpha Centauri in terms of the difference in human factions. The wide variety that those factions feel very, very different and distinct from each other.
Yeah, no, so his name is Brock and Sindri. So in the first game, they are basically sideline characters. They have a much grander story here. There's also the aspect of like trying to find Tyr, the Norse god of war. And then obviously I won't talk into the story later. You do find him at some point, because it's in the trailers. You do see him. But it's that how that narrative point plays out as well. I think one of the characters plays Thor, Ryan Hurst. If you ever seen Sons of Anarchy, he played Opie in Sons of Anarchy. He gives a really great performance. I also love the fact that he is like the traditional version of Thor. He isn't like the Hemsworth, like he isn't the muscly bod guy. He's the true version of Thor, which is a gutty style, chunky Thor who drinks beer and fights and like gets into like brawls and everything. And yeah, and he gives a great performance of the game as well. They do have added weapon mechanics in this game which play out really well to the concept. The landscapes they go to are really good, because obviously in the first game some of the realms are locked. So are the 9 realms in the world. In Ragnarok, you go to more of these that were previously not locked. But when you go to worlds from the previous game, they are different locations, so you are exploring new areas of that world. They're not completely open world to a degree. They're more like Uncharted, big open landscapes essentially to explore. But there are loads of like niche areas to unlock certain side quests where you can actually like get like find these massive floating jellyfish. And again, I don't want to say too much about the story of how it plays out, but Christopher Judge, obviously when it comes to the casting of the TV show that's coming out, so Christopher Judge would be great for that. But I know he had some medical treatment, his hips replaced, his hip replaced, his knees like adjusted. Yeah. This is why the game was delayed as well, because they delayed the title because he had surgery. And and a lot of people might have issue with that, but everyone just like, cool, just you are Kratos. From what my perspective, it was great that they did that.
Yeah, it would have been very strange to replace him, and you don't want to put too much pressure on your voice actor. And it's core of the game play. It's this narrative game, so having him as
I think we are getting to the point with games though. Sony is driving this basically now.
Yeah.
Sony have got to the point now where I don't think they should just be called voice actors anymore. I think they should just be called actors.
This is a long debate, actually. Yes, I think especially some of the elite voice actors, some of the star power that they have now, can sell a game, make or break a game potentially, especially if it's an ongoing series.
Yeah, no, like, Troy Baker, Ashley Johnson for The Last of Us, one of the prime examples. God of War and The Last of Us are the prime examples of this series. So, like, Days Gone, unfortunately, didn't get a sequel. I loved that game, by the way. Absolutely loved it. That's getting a TV show adaptation as well.
Yeah.
With the guy from Outlander, Sam Heughan, in the lead role.
Yeah.
A lot of people are quite annoyed because you already have a voice actor, Sam Witwer, who is an actor as well. He's been in many properties, Smallville, Battlestar Galactica. Being Human. He was in the American version of Being Human back in the day, and he still does TV work now.
Yeah.
Why not just have him do the part?
Yeah, there's Chris Pratt as Mario when you've got a perfectly good voice actor.
Well, I think the problem is with Mario that Mario doesn't have full-on conversations, though. That's the thing. Mario is sound effects. He isn't.
Yeah. Well. Yeah. True.
Now, isn't the voice actor of Mario also the voice actor of Wario as well? If I'm correct. But
is it? I don't know actually.
But yeah, because I know Charles Montanet, his name is,
Yeah.
he's going to be in the Mario movie, but it's not confirmed who he is. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out.
Yeah.
But I think when the Mario movie comes out or another video game adaptation comes out, we'll have I think we should have a discussion like voice actors in general. Because I think it's getting to the point now with video games where God of War is a testament to this. The Last of Us. Well, we'll get to talk about The Last of Us in a bit, but The Last of Us, The Last of Us has cracked the live action video game adaptations now, in my opinion.
Okay.
Like the video game adaptation curse has been gone for quite a while. With animation specifically.
Yeah, I think they are beginning to find their feet.
But live action, Last of Us is the one that cracked it. Because Uncharted, I know you gave it a 7.
I really enjoyed it. Yeah.
The problem is, though, if you're an Uncharted fan, it isn't Uncharted.
Yeah, I haven't played the games. But
that's the problem.
Movie,
like,
it was good.
Resident Evil is another one. Like,
yeah, the first one was good.
The first two, actually. I didn't mind. I didn't mind the second one. The third one. Yeah. I didn't mind them. But then, like, they just went too far again. And also the latest film they did and the TV show. Yeah, we won't get into those because obviously we're talking about we're wrapping up God of War now because we're wrapping up the episode now because it's getting a bit long. But yeah, no, go check out God of War, people. It's on PS4 as well, which is great. So it was on PS4 and PS5. I think this will be on PC within the year.
Yeah, when I get a new PC, I might do God of War 1 and 2 on PC.
I mean, God of War 1 is already there, so you could definitely play that. And it's quite cheap now as well, because it's definitely get really cheap all the time. But yeah, that is my final game. So that is our games of 2022, people.
It's been an interesting year. A wide variety of good
also,
things.
We're going to get... Oh, actually, no. One game I didn't mention. Vampire Survivors.
I may have seen a trailer, maybe. I'm not very aware of this one.
Can you show us what this is?
So Vampire Survivors is the one-stick action shooter
the
game.
bullet hell chaos vampire thingy.
Which is stupidly addictive that I've got like 35 hours in, which is... And I know Chaz has become addicted to it as well. Also, I love the fact that a lot of clones came out for this game on mobile, which actually sped up the development for mobile for Vampire Survivors for mobile, so they had to get out quicker.
Yeah, okay.
No... Go check this out, people. It's probably one of the best £2-3 I've ever spent.
Gosh, that cheap.
Yeah, and they added a DLC for £1.50.
Wow.
Yeah,
okay.
That is really good for like that amount of money. And
yeah.
it is a roguelike Dark Souls like game where you've just got to survive for half an hour as long as you can, and then death appears at the end and takes you out. And yeah, that is my one special recommendation. I totally like yesterday with Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. I had Vampire Survivors, the YouTube link unlocked, but I did not click it. So that's my final recommendation, people. So yeah, that is it. That is our Games of 2022. The official wrap-up of that now.
Yes. 2022 can be gone.
Ah, yes. We're into 2023 now, people.
Yes. New year,
yep.
New content.
All the good things kind of we'll definitely be talking about that next week. Next week's episode, we will be discussing not just video games, TV shows, films. We'll be doing essentially a collection of items. So we'll be picking a few each for the year. Yeah. Or we'll mention whatever we want, but very smaller discussion basically.
Yeah, I've got a few trailers at best to go off.
All the hentai anime for Fergus to talk about.
We will see.
He's got a huge smirk on his face, people.
I really need to actually get into this because I've not looked. I'm only beginning to look at 2023 now.
I mean, again, like we're almost into the end of the first month, but still, there's so much to catch up on, and so many good films even coming out soon. Like,
it's going to be an interesting year. Yeah.
Yeah, Dead Space is out today. There's a film with Eddie Murphy and Jonah Hill called You People that's out today as well, which I'm looking forward to watching on Netflix. So many good things, but check back next week, people, for what we're looking forward to 2023. Before we wrap up, though, a news item came out just as we were talking about this.
Are you talking about? The original voice cast for Pokemon will be at this year's MCM London Comic Con.
It wasn't, but you could take that off first.
Okay. You'll find me in that queue, getting my Pokemon cards signed by the original voice actor for Ash.
Yeah, because she's retired
she's
now.
She's retiring now, so that's going to be hype.
Yeah. And also getting the autograph for that now with retiring is... A lot of people say that Ash will be back in 2 years, like in a new adventure, like...
Maybe, I don't know. I mean, like, it's been 20 odd years of.
They are the mascots for Pokemon, though.
They are, but I think Ash has thoroughly fulfilled his journey.
Pikachu ain't going nowhere though.
I doubt it. You'd be well.
Maybe they'll Pikachu's daughter or something like.
Yeah. Wow.
I don't know how that will work in that world. To be honest, like
Pikachu.
I don't know.
Yeah,
we don't know, to be honest. But no, the one thing I want to mention briefly though is that The Last of Us has been already renewed for season 2.
Yes. Not surprising. I mean, it is a massive series with a lot of hype behind it. I think from the sounds of it, people are really on board with it.
So basically, it came out that the ratings for the second episode the viewership went up by 22% in the second episode, which never happens for a HBO show.
Yeah.
It did have half the viewership of House of the Dragon first episode in the first episode, but that's Game of Thrones though. Like it's House of the Dragon. But then the second episode, it built up streaming built up the numbers and it built up the viewership quite quickly. But I love the fact that Bella Ramsey a few days ago was going, you're going to have to keep watching the show to get a season 2, and then 2 days later it's announced.
She knew.
I do love the fact though that basically, so obviously James on the podcast, if he wants to talk about this briefly, hasn't played the games at all, and you're not going to watch the show yet, are you?
I'm not too. I did say that earlier. I'm not too sure. I'm in two minds. I mean, we put it this way: if I play the games, I'll watch the show. If I watch the show, then I might not play the games.
So because that's interesting. Because obviously the show is actually introducing narrative elements which weren't in the game. So what they're doing is they're expanding on, from what I've read in interviews and possible other places, that Neil Druckmann stated that they're adding content that was cut from the game into the show, which I think's a really good concept to have. Don't just like throw content for content's sake. Yeah. Have stuff you cut from the game to have elements to it. And like, there's a whole plot point with like one of the characters come up in the next episode.
Hello, everybody. Obviously, mentioned at the start of the podcast, this was recorded before the episode came out, but I just wanted to come in and give a very, very brief mention for the episode. It was absolutely fucking stunning. It was a 10 out of 10. Go check out all the rest of the reviews online for it. It gives a excellent portrayal of the show. Murray Bartlett and Noah Kaufman give absolutely astounding performances. I think the fact it's a loving romance story of gay relationships in the present in the present day for their time and our time, coincidentally, I think it's absolutely brilliant. I just wanted to interject here and say that quickly. Obviously, this episode is releasing after the episode has come out. We were supposed to release before the episode came out. So back to the episode now. But that episode was a 10 out of 10. Thank you. Back to the episode.
Which is stuff we never saw. We basically got the information from a letter, but they're doing an hour and 20-minute episode on it. And from reviewers have basically said it's one of the best episodes of TV in a long time. Okay. Which is good to have. And it'd be interesting to see, because my family's watching the show at the moment. I've had comments of like, that character's really awesome. Hope they'll stay around. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. Just hearing about it. And it's this whole Game of Thrones. Luckily, no one is doing the Game of Thrones situation of like trying to spoil it for people with the books and everything. Everyone's actually wanting people to find out for themselves, to see their reactions to it. And I'm loving the fact that the first season is the first game. And then the second season, they've stated that like the second season will not just be the second game. It will have to be at least 2 seasons, because whereas the first game is about 14 to 16 hours long, the second game is 24 to 30 hours long. Okay. So there's a lot more content. My issue is, for the second season, did you hear about the whole controversy with the voice actor in the second game?
No.
So basically, there's a character who was introduced in the second game, where I won't spoil it too much for you. Okay. She got death threats and violent, like massive attacks against her. And Laura Bailey, the voice actress,
right?
Yeah, you recognise the voice actress possibly? Yeah. She got, which was fucking disgusting.
Yes.
And I'm concerned because it was sorry, knocked the microphone there. It was based around the narrative of the character she was playing, and also the visual aspect of the character. I'm hoping to God that nothing happens to the actress that gets hired to play that character.
I mean, what?
It's a character, and it's people attacked Joffrey and like all these people in Game of Thrones, but then they praise them because they are evil characters, but you praise them because they're good actors for it.
Yeah.
This is the whole debate of like actors and voice actors as well. It's like,
I think people can get too involved in their content and get upset when the story doesn't go how they think it should go, and can't separate the character from the actor.
Or it's the character from their expectations. Their expectations played out basically. Which is just wrong. And again, like there's rumors that they think they've already got the actress for the second season because Neil Druckmann, the creator, follows someone on Instagram, and people are like, oh, she looks like this character and whatnot. But yeah, no, I highly recommend checking out. Obviously, these guys haven't even seen the season yet. Yeah, because it's on Now TV in the UK. That's a whole conversation.
Wait for it to all come to YouTube.
Well, going on that though, Sky have actually released, which is very interesting for them to do. They've actually released the first episode on YouTube for free for people in the UK to watch because I'm presuming they want to drive the viewership up in the UK because we don't have HBO like the rest of the world.
Yeah, it's sad that.
It's because Sky control the license till 2025.
I'll be waiting until 2025.
But to be fair, there might not be any HBO Max content left by that point. With all the cutting and everything.
Well, there's cutting your nose off to spite your face. It's like... You know?
Yeah, but we'll get into that later, people. But if these guys watch the first episode, I'm actually considering doing maybe a special mid-season review episode because the show's 9 episodes long. Maybe episode 4 or 5 if a few people have seen the episodes. We might do a mid-season review and then get takes on everything. Obviously, these guys might not be in it. Might be different people coming on. Or if we do a final season wrap-up, if James does actually watch the show, which would be interesting to see. See how we found the actual show, and then we can have discussion. Obviously, you know all the narrative plot points by then, and we can say to you what's different compared to the games, essentially, so we're not spoiling it for you, essentially.
Okay.
I think that'd be an interesting take. So take the perspective of someone who's only seen the show.
So I might watch show without playing the games. Don't mind doing that. So,
yeah, well, that's the thing. You can. I'd still like. It's a great narrative to go through for actually playing the video games. It's amazing gameplay, and then you could play the second one eventually as well. That's the thing. You could watch the first season and then play the second game. That's how good it is. So yeah, but I think that's it. I think it was a nice wrap up to actually learn that The Last of Us Part 1, which is called in the game, is now The Last of Us Part 2 is coming. It's been officially renewed, which I'm very happy about, and awesome. I bet they are. What's interesting is the actress Bella Ramsey is playing a 14-year-old in this season,
right? But
she's 19 in the second game.
Okay. So
she does age up in the game visually. Yeah. They might have to do some visual camera angles or everything. They're not going to wait 4 or 5 years for her to be in her mid-20s to film it at one. No. It's the Tom Holland effect of looking perpetually young still.
Yes.
But yeah, we will see. But I bet they will start filming that this year.
Oh, I imagine so.
Pedro Pascal is a busy boy. Mandalorian, Last of Us.
Gosh, yeah.
He's the sci-fi dad and we all love him. That's for sure. But yes, people, I think we're going to leave it there. We're going to wrap it up there. Jesus, this is a pretty much 2-hour episode again.
Yeah, there's, again, a lot of 2022 to cover.
Yeah, also the fact that we covered movies and TV shows in 2 hours and now we've done games.
Games is big.
Yeah. Especially if you talk about gore and horror and everything, especially for sure. Yeah. But I mean, we had some good news items. We had a good discussion at the beginning as well. So that was really awesome to have. But yes, right, people. So that is the outro now. We're into the outro now, people. If you've got any questions, queries, or compliments, tell us what your favourite games of the year were. Or, why don't you tell us what sort of games you're actually looking forward to in 2023, and maybe we'll read those out in the next episode. Answer your questions in regards to that. Are you looking forward to Last of Us Season 2? Do you have any possible castings for the character that I'm not going to mention if you play the part 2? I don't want to spoil the name because it will spoil things for these guys. But yeah, if you got any questions for that, please let us know. If we do read that question on the episode, I will, essentially bleep out the name essentially when we go into it. But yeah, right. So if you want to do that, please email us at nmipodcast@outlook.com. That's nmipodcast@outlook.com. We'll leave that in the description section so you can actually email us. Follow our socials at NMIcast on Twitter and Instagram. Linktree, you can just search NMIcast as well. They'll give you all your listening platforms. If you don't just want to listen on Spotify or iTunes, we have alternates as well, including Google Music. So it's NMIcast at Twitter and Instagram, or nmipodcast@outlook.com for all your emails and queries and lovely, lovely messages. But yeah, I've been your host, Nate. It's great to have my lovely co-host in person for the second time again, Fergus and James. Thanks for joining me, guys.
No problem at all. It has been a privilege with you in 3D.
Yeah, it's been good. Cheers.
Yeah, no, it's great to have, guys. And obviously, we will be doing another episode. We're recording on Tuesday now, but this episode will be going out on Tuesday. So you get a nice little filler for the week. And then looking forward to 2023 next week with some possible extra voice people coming onto the hosts coming onto the show next week. We won't spoil that for you. Maybe getting to 4 people on the show would be interesting to have. But yes, people, I've been host Nate. Stay safe, everyone. See you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.